I'm sure a lot of you guys remember the old ceremonial hunting tradition of eating the heart out of the first animal you kill. Meat from those organs are among the most nutrient-rich foods on the planet. You can get those same benefits your ancestors craved via convenient daily capsules from Heart and Soil. Find out more at heartandsoil.co. And remember, use code MeatEater for 10% off your purchase.
Outdoor adventure won't wait for engine problems. Things like hard starts, rough performance, and lost fuel economy are often caused by fuel gum and varnish buildup. Seafoam can help your engine run better and last longer. You simply pour a can into your gas tank. Hunters and anglers rely on Seafoam to keep their engines running the way it should the entire season. So pick up a can of Seafoam today at your local auto parts store or visit seafoamworks.com to learn more.
Welcome to the Wired to Hunt podcast, your home for deer hunting news, stories, and strategies. And now, your host, Mark Kenyon.
Welcome to the Wired to Hunt podcast. I'm your host, Mark Kenyon, and this is episode number 97. Today is going to be very different. As many of you remember, last year my co-host and I had a trail camera bet, which I ended up losing. So, as his reward, my co-host, Mr. Dan Johnson, has won the right to host one episode of this podcast. And that podcast starts right now.
All right. Hello, everybody. This is going to be a strange episode because, as Mark said, I am your host. Now, I told Mark before this podcast started that I had all these plans laid out and all these talking points, and we're going to have this awesome podcast. But I totally lied to him because all my notes are on a Post-it note that's like
perfect
3 inches by 3 inches. So it'll at least give us something to get the ball rolling with.
Well, what about our guest? What about our big special guest that you've been planning for so long?
Ric Flair could not make it today.
Oh no!
He was busy.
Bummer.
Yeah. So I honestly I didn't even reach out to anybody. But here's what I'm thinking we're gonna do today. You know, at the beginning of every episode, we have our BS portion of the show, right? Our BS session. So this podcast is going to be an entire BS session.
Perfect.
So we have no direction. We have a blank canvas in front of us, and me and you are the artists today. What do you think about that?
And with that, 10,500 people just turned off their podcast player.
Right. So this is probably going to be the lowest rated podcast that you have, but at least it's going to give us a break and we can relax, you know?
Oh yeah. No, I like it. I like the idea. I came well prepared for this. Unbeknownst to me, I've got myself a cold beverage, so we're just going to kick back and enjoy some bro time, right?
Right, some bro time. You might need to go get another beer. You can drink one beer while we're talking, and then the other beer you can chug while I'm dive bombing this episode into the ground.
Yeah, we should make a drinking game out of this. Every time you really, really embarrass yourself, I'll take a big swig.
Okay, and I also, well, I didn't really write it down. I'm just shooting from my head here. For those potential sponsors who are listening to this show that have yet to, maybe sponsor this podcast, just skip to another one.
Yeah,
that's what it's really. That's the one you really want to listen to.
That's true. I definitely don't want any prospective sponsors to hear this one.
to make a decision based off this one.
All right, so you've been warned.
Yep. So with that said,
hey, you're even using my lines.
I know. I have to, right? I gotta ease into it so people aren't scared right away, right?
That's true. I like your plan here. It's working.
All right. So here's what I'm thinking we're gonna do. We're just gonna BS. I'm gonna ask you some questions. You're gonna ask me some questions, and we're just gonna let the flow take control.
Okay.
You down with that?
I'm down for sure.
Okay. All right. So it is almost April. And for me, April is turkey hunting season. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So my first question is, are you going to be turkey hunting with a gun or a bow this year?
Very good question. I've been thinking about this a lot recently. So I've always, well, I can't remember how much I've told you about how I started turkey, but when I first started turkey hunting, like, I didn't grow up in a turkey hunting family or anything. I just picked it up, late in life myself. So I don't know, 8, 9 years ago, I first started going just with a friend and just watched for a year. And I think the next year I went out with a gun, but never even came close to a turkey. The third year, I decided I would try bow hunting, and I did have a couple good encounters, but either couldn't get a shot off or I missed. So I think year number 4, I decided I should try just using a gun so I could finally kill one. So I did that, switched to a gun, and then I started killing a bunch of turkeys. So over the last 5 years or so, I've had a lot of success with the shotgun. So this year, I think I want to up the challenge factor and switch to a bow, just because the last few years I've been killing turkeys opening morning in the different places I've hunted, and I kind of want to ramp it up a notch and extend my season and the challenge a little bit. So I think I'm going to switch to a bow, but I'm still not 100% sure because it's not easy with the bow. So I'm not sure. I'm leaning towards the bow though.
Okay.
What about you?
I'm leaning towards the bow too, but here's the deal. In Iowa, you can use your bow for the entire length of the season, right? If you use a gun, it's broken down into 4 different seasons.
Okay.
So I can use it from the beginning all the way through the what they call the 4 seasons, right? But it's for archery, it's one entire season. So in the past, I've used guns a lot, and I have, had my fair share of success. Last year I got a bow tag thinking I might go out a little bit more, but my wife was 38 weeks pregnant. And it kind of rained a little bit. So I didn't get out to hunt by myself as much as I'd like. This year, I think we're going to have, my wife's not pregnant, knock on wood. And
not that we know of yet.
Exactly. Not that we know of. And, so I think I'm going to be able to take a little bit more vacation time, and I'm going to try to knock one down with a bow this year.
I think that'd be a lot of fun. That's really nice that in Iowa you get a longer season with the bow too.
Right. Now, is Michigan one of those states where you have to stop hunting at noon for turkey?
Nope, we don't have any time restrictions. So we've got the full day, and there's a number of different time periods that the season is broken up to, depending on what license you get, what region you're in, and all of that. But I like to go for the early season, and so that means I'm going to be kicking off April 18th is the opening day, I believe, here in Michigan. So I'm going to be hunting for that first. It's a 2-week season, I think, for the tag I'll be getting. So it'll be April 18th through, I don't know, the end of April or something like that. So the plan hopefully will be to kill one myself in the first couple days, and then I have my buddy Josh and my dad coming down for the following weekend, and I'm going to try to guide them to a bird each as well. So that's what I got in the plans for Michigan, and then we'll be going to Ohio too.
Gotcha. So do you get a landowner's tag in Michigan?
So it's not a landowner's tag since I don't own any property, but there's a private land tag versus a public land tag. So I've got a private land tag since I'm going to be hunting on private land that I have by permission.
Got ya. Now, turkeys, me and you talk a lot about going out west and stuff like that. Have you ever considered trying to do a spring turkey hunt for maybe a different category, like a Merriam or a Rio?
Yeah, I have been thinking about that. I think for me, doing one of the western turkey hunts sounds like fun, and I think that's partly just because I love being out west. So any excuse to hunt something else out there is really intriguing to me. But it seems like that'd be a sweet time to be in the woods and the mountains out there, and hunting turkeys in the hills and stuff would be so different. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So I have definitely been thinking about going to Montana or Wyoming or something like that, where you've got these big rolling grassy hills and pines up on the ridges, and it seems way different but could be fun. But I just haven't, with my schedule and everything, I haven't been able to quite pull it off. But I've been thinking about it a lot. I know the much more easier or more easily attained would be like going down to, I don't know, Florida and doing one of those hunts, but I don't know. Just doesn't have quite the same appeal. I wouldn't be opposed to doing it, but if I'm going to spend, so much money to travel for 10, 18 hours away from home, I think I'd rather go west than way south, but I don't know. You? What about you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. My goal, it's kind of a crazy pipe dream, but I want to get the Slam, North American Slam. I don't know.
You really want to get them all, huh?
I want to get them all. And I want, I think the Rios and the Merriams are the next easiest for the Eastern. And then the hardest one is the Osceola. And then I don't know if I want to add the Mexican Gould.
The Gould,
yeah. Yep. Yeah. Into the category or not. But it would be really fun. I talked to a guy who's done it at the ATA show a couple years ago. And he's like, turkey hunting is not at all like deer hunting. For some reason, big game puts a lot more pressure on people than a bird does. And you go out and you just have fun, as opposed to, all this strategy and stuff that goes with these giant animals.
Yeah, man, I do love it. It's so much fun, but it is kind of the big game of bird hunting,
Right.
Yep. Of all the kinds of bird hunting, it is the most like big game, at least. And maybe that's why I enjoy it so much, because it is, you are hunting, like a single animal, and there's calling and there's stalking or there's ambush. It's definitely very different than like duck hunting or upland bird hunting where you're just walking around trying to flush something. So I don't know. It's like, I love turkey hunting because of how engaging it is,
Yeah.
Like the fact that you are interacting with that animal in the calling and everything. But then you also have the ability to, run and gun and actually be up and moving. Between those two things, like, I'm just getting pumped. Like right now, I'm definitely getting pumped. I drove around the neighborhood last night just scouting fields to see where the turkeys were out. And this morning from my office, I could see across the road onto this neighbor's property, and a bunch of gobblers were out across there, all strutted up and
nice.
Moving back and forth. And so I just sat for like 15 minutes with my binoculars staring out the window, achieving nothing, but it was fun.
Right.
So I'm definitely getting pumped. I haven't heard my first gobble yet, so I'm pretty excited for that.
Yeah, I haven't been out. I've seen several strutters from the road, but haven't had the opportunity to get out and do any listening. But it is definitely one of my favorite times of the year. And I don't know how you were raised or how you started turkey hunting, but my two uncles got me into turkey hunting, and they are with a gun, and it was run and gun all the way. Call for a little bit. No response. You walk 50, 60 yards, set up, and you just cover an entire section of timber. And we did it all on public land up in northern Iowa. And call a little bit. You wait. Maybe some will come in, maybe some won't. And you just keep moving until you find them. And that's how I personally have been successful over the years as far as a strategy is concerned. What about you?
Yeah, so I literally, like I said, I went out for 1 year with a friend, but that friend didn't really know what he was doing either. So after that, I just basically taught myself, just read a lot of magazines and watched videos and stuff like that. So what I do, kind of a combination of all the above, depending on the type of property. Typically I try to just, if I can, roost them the night before, figure out at least where I either roost them the night before and figure out where they're roosted that day, or just from historical knowledge, here's where I think these turkeys are going to be roosted, and then sneak in as close as I can the next morning, and then hopefully, have a good setup and they'll come in. So what I've done both here in Michigan and Ohio is, get in there early in the morning, as close as I can get to the roost with a couple decoys set up, and I'll usually hunt them at that decoy spread for the first couple hours in the morning. So in both cases, both of the two main properties that I hunt, I actually don't have really good roosting on those properties. They tend to roost on the neighbors. So I am kind of waiting for them to slowly make their way to my property. So in both cases, it usually takes about an hour for them to kind of slowly work their way from wherever they're strutting first thing in the morning. And usually it seems like that, like an hour and a half later, they kind of cycle through and kind of move towards my area, and then that's been when I've been able to catch them. But what I'll usually do is, so that for that first like 2 hours, I'll wait there. Hopefully they'll come my way. But if nothing happens in that first 2 hours, then I like to get up and start moving around and try to run and gun and see if I can't get something talking. And then I'll usually do that till, I don't know, late morning, early afternoon. And then I'll call it and then come back on the evening and try to kind of do the same thing but the opposite. So that's what I've done on those two main properties. And I don't move around as much in those just simply because they're small properties. And I just, if it's not happening here, it's not going to happen in the other spot. I could go 100 yards, away. But I have hunted some other farms that my buddies own or have permission on where you can, walk for thousands of acres or hundreds of acres at least. And that's definitely a fun way to just move around and find different sets of birds. And I can't remember if I told you the story last year, but me and a buddy went with Corey. He's, my buddy Corey. He had not gone out turkey hunting at all last year, so we were with him like one night. We're like, dude, you got to get out. We'll take you out. So he's basically came along with the gun, and we were kind of the guides because he's not super into it. But we set up one spot in the morning, and there was just nothing going. So after like an hour there and nothing was talking, we decided, okay, we're going to get up, and this area my friend and his family own and have access to a whole bunch of property in this area. So literally you could just drive up and down the roads, and everything you can see pretty much is land that we could hunt. So we just drove the roads until we spotted turkeys way, way, way off in this field. And spotted some birds, spotted some gobblers, and then put together a plan of, okay, we think that they're going to keep moving that direction. So we drove then half a mile down the road, came around a corner, parked the truck around behind a hedgerow, and then ran 3/4 of a mile to try to get up in front of where we thought those gobblers were going to head. We cut them off, and finally, we thought we were within range, or in the same area they'd be headed. We were back on the other side of the hill though, so we waited. Finally heard one of them gobble, so then, okay, we've relocated them. They're coming where we thought they were, and so we made another move, got right up in front where we thought they'd go, did a little bit of yelping, and it just worked out perfect. They came right in, and it was a super cool hunt because it had all that driving around, spotting, making a plan, running around trying to get in the right spot, and that was a super cool hunt. So I really do enjoy those hunts where you get to be really active and trying to make a move on something.
Yeah. All right. Now for this portion of the show, it's going to be called My Favorite Thing About Turkey Hunting Is. All right.
Okay.
And I'm going to go first so you kind of get an idea of what to do here. Okay.
Okay.
All right. My favorite thing about turkey hunting is when you're sitting with your back to a tree and you hear some gobbles in front of you, and all of a sudden those gobbles stop, and you think, man, okay, those times have gone away. And then all of a sudden you hear thump, boom, boom, and there's a strutter right behind you, and it freaks you out.
Ooh, I like that.
That's my favorite thing about turkey hunting.
Okay. Now my turn?
Your turn.
All right. My favorite thing about turkey hunting is when you're sitting up against a tree and you're hearing a gobbler for a while out there in the distance, and then he stops. And then you don't hear anything for a while, and you think, oh man, they're gone. And then 15 minutes later or 10 minutes later, all of a sudden you hear, but 10 yards behind you. Just makes you jump out of your skin.
Right.
You're like, holy crap, he's right there. That is my favorite thing. I love when one of those gobblers is so close and it surprises you, and it just every hair on your body just stands straight up, and you feel it in your gut, and you're just like, holy crap.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Oh, that is an adrenaline rush that I just love.
Yeah, that's oh man, I've had times where my uncle, he's the guy who taught me pretty much everything I know about turkey hunting. So we go out and the sun's just coming up. We pull in and I shut my door really quiet, and he just slams his car door as hard as he possibly could. And you get
Yes.
that shot gobble.
The
what I call
shot gobble is awesome.
And then there's 4 or 5 of them sound off, and he's like, they're here. And we just walk into the woods and kill them.
That is that's probably my second favorite thing, or maybe it is my first favorite thing. Is first thing when you get in the morning, you sneak into wherever you're gonna set up, and then that first bird goes off, and then because that bird goes off, the next one goes off, and then the next one, and the next one, and you get this like cascading effect of gobbles going up and down the ridge or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, every time it happens, every morning, like when I'm with, especially if I'm with a friend, you just look at each other and just start laughing because this is so awesome.
Turkey hunting's fun.
It really is. If you haven't done it, you really got to try.
Yep.
To everyone, not you, Dan, but to everybody else out there.
Yep. Turkey hunting's fun. All right. So, are you ready for the next topic?
Yeah. What do we got?
Okay. Next
Hey,
topic.
hey, hold on.
Yeah.
Before we do it, how did my gobble sound?
Oh, it was horrible.
Ah, dang it. I feel pretty good about. I was in Cabela's the other day, and I don't know about you, but whenever I walk past the aisle with all the turkey calls, I can't help but start yelping and making turkey noises
With your own mouth.
with my own mouth. Yeah,
Okay.
And,
so then you're that guy.
I am so that guy. And my wife was pissed at me. She's like, "You are so annoying," but I kept doing it.
When I used to go to a lot of trade shows, we would always joke around with other people who had booths next to like the guy who sold coyote calls or turkey calls or elk calls or any type of call, because for 3 straight days you would hear or like some dumb. Now that wasn't that bad, Mark.
Thank you.
I'll give credit on that.
Thank you, sir. I feel like I'm pretty decent with just my own vocal cords. I wouldn't enter competition. Let's just say.
Okay, so let's hear your no call elk bugle.
Ooh, I can't do that.
Damn it! I was hoping I could get you to embarrass yourself.
I don't even know how I would do that. I could try, but I really shouldn't.
All right. Okay. Are you ready for the next topic?
I'm ready for the next topic.
Okay. This is dream hunt.
Dream hunt.
Dream hunt. So you've already done an elk hunt and you've been successful at an elk hunt. You've done a whitetail hunt. You've already been successful as far as a whitetail hunt in the Midwest and whatever. So you have again, blank canvas. What is your dream hunt? One species and I'm going to put a stipulation, can't be whitetail.
Okay. One species, one hunt. Is there Okay. It is without a doubt an Alaskan hunt.
Okay.
Going to Alaska, and I would love to tie together several different species, but since I can't, if I had to just choose one, I'd probably have to say it would be Alaskan moose. It would be like a fly-in hunt, and like a fly-in hunt into some deep wilderness area where you get dropped off with a raft maybe, and you hunt out in the back country for a moose, and then if you get one, you pack them into the raft and you raft out some river out to the nearest road 50 miles away or something, and all along the way you get to do some fly fishing. Yep. and I don't know, that the next it's between that and like a Brooks Range sheep hunt. I'd love to get way up in the mountains and chase sheep. But I'd probably have to go with moose first, and that'd be bow hunt for moose, deep in the bush. Do it yourself is what my dream hunt would be, I'd say.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to agree with you on that.
Yeah, we're on the same page, huh?
We're kind of on the same page. I don't know what it is about an animal that is 3 times your size. Like yeah, not too bad. Jeez, Mark, you need to come out with the Mark Kenyon call system.
I'll put together a little tape that you can download with just me making animal reproductive noises or like calling noises.
Okay, quick story from college. I'm going to make this as fast as possible.
Oh, I do not know how this can be relevant to college, but it can't be good.
It's awesome. Okay. So my buddy had a house that sat in between. So it went frat house, my buddy's house, frat house.
Oh,
so these
location.
Right. So we had let's just say we had a lot of fun messing with these frat guys. All right.
I believe that.
So one day I'm helping some chick move into her apartment, and a box kind of breaks open and a whole bunch of cassette tapes fall out. right? So me and my buddy are helping her pick these cassette tapes up, and I see one, and it's Rabbit Distress Call.
Nice.
Okay, you know,
Oh yeah.
that kind of.
There you go.
Annoying as all get out. So there's this party, they're having their rush party or whatever, you know, everybody comes in, it's the new people, whatever frats do. Now, me and my buddy are like, hey, let's go over there. Let's just walk in and see, you know, we walk in and we don't look anything like the pop collared hair gel type. You know, I'm probably wearing, if I had to guess my college days, I'm probably wearing a pair of cargo shorts with a Busch Light t-shirt.
Oh, you popped your collar.
There's no collars on Busch Light t-shirts. Okay. So this frat house had their stereo system inside of a closet. And in this closet had a window. So I had this Rabbit Distress signal or call tape in my pocket. So I'm like, I'm going to put that in their tape cassette and I'm going to play that. So I walk in there kind of nonchalantly, close the door behind me, lock it. I put the Rabbit Distress call cassette in the stereo system and I crank it. I jump out the window. And I walk back to the front of the house and
Oh my
it
gosh.
it is the most awesome thing I've ever seen. All these people are looking around like, what the hell is going on? The party, just everybody starts leaving. The cops get called. Oh, it was awesome. It was awesome. And that's like one of my, and we just had a really good laugh after that.
Oh man, well done, sir.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yep. So Dream Hunt.
Can't top that one.
No. So, okay. Because you said moose, you know, I would love to do the same thing, float down like the Yukon River or something like that and arrow a moose. Now, I would also love to do some kind of, since I haven't done it yet, high country mule deer hunt.
Yo.
But I want to wait until after they're out of velvet. For some reason, shooting a velvet animal does not interest me.
Have we talked about that before? I
don't
can't remember.
think so. I don't remember. Do you find interest in a velvet hunt?
Because I'm kind of like you. Like I'm not opposed to it. Like so, if I was doing it, like you know, I'm doing an early season hunt this year in Montana for whitetails. If a mature buck comes in front of me and has velvet, I won't not shoot him because he's in velvet. But if two bucks come by, one's in velvet, one's hardhorned, I would definitely choose the hardhorn. I just don't have that desire to shoot a velvet buck. I don't know. I love hard horns, the feeling, the look, the way they, you know, when you touch them, everything about them. I just prefer that. I don't know. I don't know why, but you agree with that?
I kind of agree. There are some hunting shows out there that I've seen where it looks like the antlers of some of these bucks that they're shooting are not even fully developed yet. Like the tips are still rounded.
Right.
I just don't get that. But, you know, to each his own. If you love to shoot velvet antlers, go do it.
Yeah, nothing wrong with it. I guess
No.
you know, just the one thing I would worry about is I don't remember if you remember that episode we had with Dan Weeks, the taxidermist, but there's like all sorts of stuff that goes into trying to preserve that velvet. That seems like a big headache too. So just from that standpoint, I'm like, I don't want to deal with more of a hassle than I have to.
Right.
So that's another thing to think about. But I don't know. I'll see this season. It will be my first potential chance to shoot a buck in velvet. So I'm sure that'll be something I'll be thinking about a lot more than I ever have.
Gotcha. All right. Now, we've talked about hunting, but do you have a dream fishing trip?
Ooh, a dream fishing trip.
We never talk about fishing on this show.
We never do talk about fishing. I love to fish. You love to fish.
I
don't
love
you?
to fish.
Yeah.
Favorite North American fish to catch?
Ooh. Wow. All right. It's changed for me over the course of my life.
Okay.
For a long time, it used to be bass. I was a hardcore bass fisherman. I used to fish tournaments and everything.
Wait a second. You used to fish in fishing tournaments.
Yeah.
For some reason, I cannot imagine that.
Really?
I can't picture that.
I thought, and this is kind of funny. When I was in high school, I wanted to be a professional bass fisherman. I thought I was going to grow up to be on the, the bass tournament and be one of those guys in the NASCAR shirts on a boat and
Holds the fish as, almost like shed hunting where they hold the fish as close to the camera
Right.
as humanly possible. Yeah.
Yep. I wanted to be Kevin Van Dam, who's like the Michigan guy who's like one of the best bass tournament fishermen of all time. So that was my idol. That's what I wanted to be for a period of years. So I still love bass fishing, but don't do it as much as I used to. Now I've kind of transitioned to, as you know, spending more time out west. So I've really caught the fly fishing bug. So trout have been what I've been really into recently. But I also really love catching huge northern pike. I used to go up to Canada a lot and fish for walleye and pike up there. And there's something about tearing in a huge spinnerbait or massive Mep spinner or something and then just getting a clobbering by a 35-inch pike that just tears your arm off. I mean, that's a lot of fun too. So I would say my favorite species would have to be one of those three. I'm having a hard time choosing one.
Okay. For me, my answer is real simple. Hands down, right now, if I could go fishing for one species today, I would pick smallmouth bass.
Yeah.
I
yes.
love smallmouth bass. They fight like nothing else in North America anyway. And I absolutely, if I could hunt one fish every day for the rest of my life, it'd be smallmouth.
If you could hunt one fish, that's what you just said.
Yeah, hunt them with lures and a pole.
Yeah. Speaking of hunting fish, though, one of my favorite things when it comes to fishing is sight fishing. So, fishing in a place, because it kind of feels like you're hunting. So, like when I used to be a big bass fisherman, I used to love using soft plastics and flipping and pitching soft plastics to fish I could see in shallow water, doing different things like that. Or now in fly fishing, you're kind of sight fishing a rising trout. You're seeing where a trout is consistently rising and then trying to make a move on it and then drop your fly in the right place to entice that fish to take it. So I really do love fishing that kind of feels like hunting versus just randomly casting a lure. And I enjoy that too. When you're just casting into something you can't see and bringing it up. But I do love that element when there is like some type of visual aspect of fishing where you're going after a single fish maybe that you're seeing or watching rise, or you think there's a fish there and you can be pretty strategic about trying to, place your lure in the right place. I really get a kick out of that.
Gotcha. All right, now last fishing question.
Well, we didn't talk about the dream trip yet.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to transition into.
Oh, sorry. So
your dream fishing trip.
Can I give you two answers because I'm having a hard time? Well, no.
Yeah, no, go for it.
All right. So
I'll allow it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Host. So I would probably again say my dream fishing trip is Alaska. So again, hunting and fishing trip would be Alaska, doing a fly fishing trip for salmon. Well, I probably wouldn't use a fly rod for salmon. I'm not that good, but I do salmon. Excuse me, I've got some belching going on over here. Salmon / fishing for trout with my fly rod too. Some kind of just Alaskan trip. I don't know the specifics. I would just want to go to Alaska, go deep into the backcountry again, and then just fish my way out and just do nothing but eat fish and cast for fish and just spend a lot of time out there fishing for all sorts of crazy stuff out there. Just in general, I want to spend a couple weeks hunting and fishing in Alaska on my own or with a couple buddies and just experience all it has to offer. That's my dream. Really, really, really want to do that. But my second fishing trip would be to go fly fishing for trout in Patagonia.
Oh, yeah.
I am fascinated by Patagonia, and I would love to get down there. They've got incredible trout, beautiful, beautiful rivers and mountains, and it just looks like everything I've read says Patagonia is like Montana from 80 years ago or 100 years ago. So yeah. I would love to experience that. So that is my number one trip and my number 1A trip.
Nice. You could hunt red stag down there too.
Are there red stag in Patagonia?
I think so. Because Patagonia is in Argentina, right?
Yeah, it's on the border. It's kind of that region between Argentina and Chile.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
think so.
Interesting.
So
what about you?
My dream fishing trip would be the Amazon jungle, topwater fishing for peacock bass.
Nice. That's a good one. Peacock bass are awesome.
I guess they've transferred somehow some of them into some lakes in Florida where the cold temperatures don't bother them. Like the cooler, if you can think Florida has cooler temperatures, but it's different than the Amazon. But I've seen some of those peacock bass, and they're the size of salmon. I mean, they're big fish.
Oh yeah, and they're just nasty, right?
They're
fight
aggressive.
Insane, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that'd be sweet.
That'd be a trip. That'd be a trip.
I went to the fly fishing film tour in Denver this past I don't know, January, when we were on our last vacation out west, and they had one of the films was Dorado fishing somewhere down in the rainforest in one of those countries down there, and Dorado is just kind of a huge predatory fish down there, kind of similar-ish to peacock bass, at least visually. I thought to myself, and they just looked like an insane fish to go after. That does look like a lot of fun. For me, the rainforest, like that region, just doesn't have quite the same appeal for me. Right. From like I don't know, just wet and humid and huge rats and huge spiders and huge snakes would just be. I think it'd be more stressful than relaxing. I would rather deal with grizzly bears and wolves than spiders and snakes, personally.
Right. And that kind of transitions me into the next question, and that is, do you have any interest in hunting Africa?
Very interesting question. I've been thinking about this. And again, I think I'm getting really old because I'm already forgetting. Like, I never know if we've already talked about things. I feel like, back when I was a kid and my grandpa would tell stories, and he'd tell the same story like 8 times, over the course of 2 years. I'm like, oh, grandpa. In my head, I'm thinking, I've heard this story over and over. And now I'm worrying I'm becoming that guy already.
Yeah.
But if we haven't talked about this already, here are my thoughts. I went to, for the longest time, I've had no interest in hunting Africa.
Right.
And then I went to the SCI, the Safari Club International Convention this past February to cover it for a magazine assignment, essentially, for Outdoor Life. And while I was there, I was kind of thinking about this more. Why don't I want to hunt there? Why do all these other people want to hunt there? What is the allure of Africa? And my interest in Africa changed a little bit. Before, I had no interest in going there at all. Now, I might be interested in going because there are some fascinating cultural things, and just the wildlife down there is unbelievable. I still just personally don't have the interest in hunting there, though. I don't have an interest in killing something there. I'd love to go down there and see these animals, watch these animals, but I just don't have the desire to kill one. I have a hard time explaining why. I think part of it is because there's so many animals here in North America that I'd love to still hunt and that I have like a context with, and I've thought about and seen and wondered about and been fascinated with here in North America. And I also feel confident about our ability to manage those species and to keep those species around for a long time. And I feel really good about the system in place to make sure that, these things are handled properly. In Africa, it just seems like so much more of a tenuous situation. Like, I know and I understand, and I've looked a lot into the importance of hunting in Africa. Like, there really is a need for the funds and the management that comes from hunters participating in the hunting down in Africa. So that's an important thing, and I'm glad people go down there and do it. I don't know. I just don't personally. I couldn't kill an elephant. I would not want to shoot an elephant. I wouldn't want to shoot a rhinoceros, or I wouldn't want to shoot a lion. I don't know if that's just because, I don't know, because they're rare, because they feel so rare to me, because they feel so endangered to me. I wouldn't, I'm not saying if someone out there wants to go do that, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but I'm just saying I think for me it just doesn't feel right. Plus, I also have this thing where I can't justify killing something just personally unless I'm going to eat it.
Right. And
so I don't know if I have the desire to eat an elephant or eat a lion or whatever. So I don't know. These are things I don't have like a really good answer, I guess, but these are kind of like the feelings and thoughts that are kind of churning around in my head when I think about this. So that's a long way of saying no. I'm not interested in hunting in Africa. I may be interested in going to Africa, learning more about it, being out there. But I don't think I'd shoot anything.
Right. At this point in my life, I would say no. But I talked with a guy who has been there and he's killed almost every species. All right. And so he sits here and he tells me, I used to think the same thing you did. But when you get there, and now I want you to rub your thumb and your finger together. Doesn't make a very, very loud noise, right? To you at this point, right? It's not a loud noise.
Yeah.
He's like, it is so quiet over there that noise is almost deafening because it's so quiet.
Nice.
So the way he explained it, and of course, he hunted over a water hole, or, they throw some food out because their hunting regulations as far as bait is concerned are not like here in the United States. But he shot, a kudu, all these rare animals and all that stuff. And he's like, I used to think that until I had the opportunity to go. And then me and my wife went every year for like 10 years in a row.
Wow.
And he had some money. But for me, elk, mule deer, bighorn sheep, moose, all these things are higher on my list right now than going to Africa.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that we've got so many options right here, relatively close, that, we can participate in for pretty affordable, not everything, but a lot of them are pretty affordable, pretty attainable. Plus, man, I this is just me personally, but I just love that those landscapes out west and up in Alaska and Canada. I just love that habitat and that terrain, mountains, pines. I prefer that over. And again, maybe it'd change if I went there. I've never experienced it, so I'm judging one thing I've experienced a lot versus something I've only ever seen on TV. So maybe it's like you said, maybe once you get there, it's different. But for now, man, I'll take a mountaintop any day.
Right. Fact. All right. So typically at this point of the show or earlier, we say, hey, now we have to have a break from our sponsors, right? Which is Sitka Gear, right?
That's true.
The titles for the show. Now, because I have myself a gear podcast, I want to talk about your favorite piece of Sitka clothing that you have.
Very good question. All right. If I had to pick just one piece of clothing that's my very favorite, I would say it would be my Fanatic hoodie. I love, love, love my Fanatic hoodie. I just got this last year, so I only wore it for 1 year so far, but I wore it on literally every single hunt. Every single one of the hunts I went on last year, I wore it. And I would feel horrible without it now that I've experienced a hunt with it. So basically, for those not familiar, the Fanatic hoodie is kind of a mid-layer, light fleece, kind of a gridded fleece interior with it's not like a puffy, not like a puffy fleece or anything, but a very thin micro gridded fleece with some elasticity to it that fits well to your body. It's got a kind of kangaroo pocket in the middle down for your hands. It's got a deep zippered kind of half zip that comes down. But what I really like is two things. One, it's that right kind of level of warmth to breathability factor where it adds a nice bit of warmth to your system, but at the same time you can wear it on warmer days. So I could go out on a day where it's 65 degrees and be okay having that over, towards the end of the night when it cools down a little bit. And it's not so warm of a piece that I can't wear it on those early season hunts, but then in the late season it's a terrific base to mid layer to give me that additional warmth. And the two things that I really like though are one, first and foremost, is the hoodie. I wear the hoodie all the time. It's kind of one of those tight, kind of like if you're familiar with like the climber type hoods or small fleeces, like Patagonia has one. A lot of different climbing and outdoor companies have these types of hoodies where they're this type of shirt that has this like tight elastic hood that comes over. So that what's nice about it is it holds tight to your head and doesn't impact your peripheral vision. If you take a typical hood, which is big and sticks out from your head, your peripheral vision on either side is kind of blocked out by the hood, and when you can't see to your left or to your right. But with this hood that on the Sitka hoodie that sticks close to your head, you don't have that issue. So you can put this hoodie on, and it covers your head, gives you a little extra warmth, blocks any wind on your neck, which is really nice for me. And it has a built-in face mask, so it flips down from the inside of that hood and covers your face. So now I don't bring any other face mask. I don't wear any face paint. I just pull on that hoodie, pull up the face mask, and I'm in ninja mode. I'm covered completely. It's tight to my face. It doesn't impact me at all. It doesn't bother me when I draw my bow. And it's just super, super nice. And then on the arms, there's flip out kind of hand mitts. I don't know how it's really hard to describe. But embedded in the sleeve kind of is some additional fabric that flips over your hand. So if it's like a cold morning and you don't want to have big, heavy gloves when you grab your bow, but if you have to grab your bow, you flip over these mitts, and it doesn't bother your grip at all, but it'll keep your hand warm against the bow riser or whatever you're doing. It's just a really nice kind of included feature that is not in any way kind of bulky or bothersome, but when you need it, it's available. So I don't know, between those couple things there, I really, really like that piece. And like I said, it's every single hunt, I'm wearing it. Same thing for turkey season. I'll be wearing it every single hunt, whether it be out west or here or turkeys. That's the piece I'm wearing. So what about you? You've been able to wear Sitka for a year now. What do you think?
Right.
What's your favorite piece?
This is my first year actually adhering to a layering system. All right. And I loved it. Now, before my Western hunt, I did a lot of research where it was, okay, make sure you have some kind of down or wool or make sure you get wool socks because they're breathable or, and then the pluses and minuses of all that stuff. So I didn't have the wool the down lightweight vest. Okay. And that's my favorite piece that they make.
Yeah.
So I picked it up at Shields, and that's a sporting goods store here in Iowa, and took it on the trip. Now, I really didn't need to wear it a lot, but when I came back...
You're talking about our Idaho trip, right?
Our Idaho trip. I didn't really need to wear it a lot because, it was cool, but not cold. And we were moving enough, and I was out of shape enough to where I was sweating and wet and warm regardless.
Yeah.
So, but here's the crazy part. I wore this one simple little vest, and you can wad the entire vest up into the size of a baseball. Okay, so that's how lightweight this thing is. And I would put it on walking to the tree stand, right? So it's open. So if I would get warm, the air could escape, and I would dress real light on the walk in. But when I'd get to my tree stand and start getting settled down, I'd zip that thing up, and then I'd throw my, so I would wear my Fanatic hoodie, and then I'd put my down vest over top of it, and then I'd put my safety harness over that, and then I'd put on one of my jackets. Now, I'm telling you right now, I would purchase, if it was a one season use only, then you had to throw it away. I would purchase one of those every season. It blocks out so much wind, and the I don't know what's that called, warmth versus weight ratio or something like that is so high.
Factor.
Yeah, the loft factor is so awesome that you can literally wear less clothing and stay warm. And that is awesome because I've always been old school. Hey, I'm cold. Well, let's throw on one more cotton hooded sweatshirt.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking like the kid from the Christmas Story.
Yeah, this is a big improvement on that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you liked it. I told you for a while how much I thought you would like that stuff. And then I know you've been skeptical a little bit. So I'm glad to hear that it's worked out well for you and helped you on your hunts. Cause I think there's something to be said. If you're someone who's out there a lot and hunting a lot and in these tough conditions, having the right gear, whether, whatever brand you prefer, but this kind of advanced gear, I think really does help for those that are serious about it. So I'm glad it worked for you.
Yep. I loved it.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite piece from Sitka. All right. So what's next? I'll tell you what's next.
Oh, this is fun for me. I might make you do this more often.
Okay. So the next category is because we just got serious, right, with Sitka, so we paid your bills. Right?
Thanks for that.
Yep, no worries. We got that out of the way. All right, now we're gonna take a bit of a 180, and we're gonna talk about going to the bathroom while you're in the tree stand.
Oh, great topic.
Yep, great topic. A lot of people, a lot of requests for this.
I imagine.
Okay, so when you pee or when nature calls, we're going to start off with number one. When nature calls and you got to pee, do you let it fly from the tree stand, or do you get down, or do you use a bottle?
I let it fly.
Okay.
I let it fly right off the tree stand. I'm not concerned about it. I've seen a number of studies that look into this, and from everything I understand, very quickly after that urine hits the ground or leaves your body, it very quickly becomes a scent and odor that deer are not bothered by. So yeah, I used to be worried about it, but after seeing some of these studies, it seems to me that there's nothing to worry about. So I let it rip.
Okay. I'm a let it rip guy too. I used to be a bottle guy where I'd pee into a bottle and then I'd forget about it, and it'd been in the back seat of my truck for like 6 months. and then you pull it out while you're cleaning.
No good.
No, it's not good. And then you're like, oh my God, this is disgusting. So from that point, I let it fly. Now this is where it gets serious. Number two. That means deucing it. That means going poop. Okay.
Tell me more. What does it mean? No, really don't.
This is still your show, right?
Yes.
Okay.
At least for the time being.
Okay. So do you let it fly from the tree stand? Do you put it in a bottle? Or do you get down?
Okay. How in the world do you put it in a bottle?
I don't know. Maybe you got a Gatorade bottle and you got good aim.
I don't know if it fit, man. Don't use a bottle, and that's my first piece of advice.
Maybe like a bread sack or whatever.
A bread sack?
I don't know. I'm just thinking of like everyday items that you can find around the house that have a bigger than normal.
Oh my gosh. Okay, funny story. I once hunted with a friend. I'm not going to give details here, but I hunted a certain place with a friend who was parked in the front yard of someone's place, but wasn't going to head in to hunt till daylight for a certain reason. But before he had to head in to hunt, he was sitting there in the truck waiting for daylight to go across this field to go hunt, and he had to go so bad, like horribly, horribly bad. But it's in an area where there's like a bunch of houses and stuff, so it wasn't like he could just easily go to the woods. It was like he had to go right then and there, but he was in a front yard surrounded by other houses, so he panicked, didn't want to just drop a deuce in this person's front yard, so he hid behind his truck, found a grocery store grocery bag in his truck, pooped in the grocery bag, tied it up, put it underneath his truck tire, went hunting, forgot about it, and later drove over it when he was driving out of the yard.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And he probably left it there.
No, he did actually take it. He recovered it and properly disposed of it. But the proper disposal, I think, was like some trash can at a store. So
oh boy.
Really, really nasty stuff. But what would I do is the question, I suppose.
Yeah, what would Mark Kenyon do?
Mark Kenyon would not use a bread sack. He would not use a Gatorade bottle. He would hold it as long as he possibly could, but if there was no choice, he would scurry down from his tree and try to get a little ways away from where he was hunting, dig a hole, lean up against the tree, take care of my business, and bury the evidence.
Gotcha.
That's what I do.
Gotcha. Okay. Fair enough.
What about you? You do you go the bread sack route?
Oh no. I've had 2 occasions where I just drop right from the tree. Don't even get out of the tree.
I feel like you once told me that you did that while your buddy Ryan was in the tree with you. Is that true?
That's true. I think he was filming me.
while you did it?
Oh yeah. Dude,
oh, that is rich.
We're good hunting buddies. That's what you don't judge another hunting buddy for having to go number 2.
This is quality podcast entertainment right here.
Right.
This is it.
I can see the headlines now. Worst podcast ever.
The
Anyway.
Poop Podcast.
Anyway, but most of the time I'll just dig a hole with my heel at the bottom of the tree stand. Just depends on, and that's why I stopped drinking coffee during hunting season. Because, coffee gets the juices flowing. And when I, get in the morning and you have your cup of coffee on your way to your tree and,
Yeah.
Can't
do that.
Can't do that.
I agree. No coffee pre-hunt. It's never good. But always bring TP with you.
Yep.
That's something I've learned.
Or you're going to be walking out of the timber with one sleeve missing off your t-shirts.
Oh man! Speaking of, this is funny. This is the same friend who had the grocery bag story.
I think I've heard this one before, but you're going to have to tell it again.
Yeah. So the same friend, he has a lot of poop issues. We were hunting up in northern Michigan. So this is like out in the boonies, and he's hunting this property we have, and he got lost walking to his stand. And it's in the middle of a deep northern Michigan swamp, and he hadn't hunted there. He'd only been in there like a year or two, so he didn't know the area too well. So he got lost walking in the morning, trying to find where he was going to hunt. He was getting stressed out. He drank coffee that morning, and now after wandering around in circles in the middle of the dark, in the middle of nowhere, in this huge cedar swamp, that stress is building up. He's got his tummy rumbling, and he's got to go. And he's got to go bad. But he doesn't know how to get back to the cabin, and he does not know where he is, and he did not bring TP with him. So, when you got to go, you got to go. So he took care of business, and he had to tear off his boxers. But when he tried to tear them, it left the elastic band around the middle, but everything else tore off. So he had to use that, and he came back, so then he doesn't tell me about any of this stuff, obviously, until we get back to camp, and he just walks up to me, and he pulls up his shirt, and it just shows this ripped elastic underwear band around his belly. And I'm like, what in the world did you do, and why are you showing me this? So always bring TP.
Always. TP.
Don't be that guy that has nothing but a Hanes elastic band thong on.
Or walk out of the timber with one sleeve.
Or one sleeve. Dude, here's another story. I've got a lot of these stories. These are weird. This is another friend who had to do this. He forgot TP, and so he had to take one of his socks off.
Nice.
He used a sock. He tried to bury it, I think, but apparently not well enough, because we got back to this property shed hunting a year later, and we're walking around, and we walk up on a sock. And I'm like, what's the sock doing out here? He's like, oh, I use that to wipe myself. And he picks it up to bring it home with him.
What?
I'm like, what are you doing? You wiped. You took care of business with that sock. And he's like, well, yeah, that was 5 months ago. And he was
Is this guy single?
No, he's married. I'm not going to say any more. That's
all right. That's all right. Then it's okay.
But I was laughing pretty hard. I was giving him a real hard time about that one. So yeah, who knew we would have so many number 2 stories?
Right. I have a couple more, but I think we don't have time for those.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm so sorry, guys. Everyone listening, I'm so sorry for this.
No way. I think the listeners are enjoying this.
They are. You're right. Because you know what? Everybody can relate.
Exactly.
In some way. I don't care how uptight you are, how mature you are. We can all relate to this in some small way.
Well, the oldest joke in the world is the fart.
That's true. Never gets old.
Never gets old.
No.
Okay. So after that, okay. Favorite? Let's see. What do I want to do? I have a list here. Okay, here's
You don't have a list. You're so full of it.
Well, it's kind of a list. It's just more. It looks like scribbles.
I was gonna say it's like chicken scratch and drawings probably on a piece of paper.
Right. So like here's one. I'm gonna read it. Music. Listen. On the way. So that's what it says. Okay. So.
Oh man.
On your way from wherever you're staying to your hunting property, what kind of music do you listen to?
All right. I take this very seriously.
I know. And anyway, go ahead.
I take this very seriously.
Yes.
So it's one of two things. I either I've got a CD, I've got a playlist. It used to be a CD, now it's a playlist of hunting related songs. So stuff like Fred Bear and Shoot, there's a whole bunch of different 30 Point Buck and Second Week of Deer Camp and a bunch of great hunting related songs. So that's option number 1.
Okay.
Option number 2 is techno music, like electronic dance music, like pump me up. I'd say, yeah.
Okay, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of that, because that gets me fired up, gets me awake. So for the past several years, I've developed what I call the Rut and Rave playlist for the year. So every year in like October, I put together a new electronic dance music playlist for Spotify that I jam to for that whole hunting season. That's like my soundtrack for the season. And that's what gets me up and going every morning on the drive over while I'm drinking like a 5-hour energy and eating my breakfast. We jam out to that. So that's what I do.
I think what we should do is, it doesn't have to be this podcast, but me and you need to come up with our top 10 hunting song, like a hunting list, a playlist, and then we'll post it as a blog on the Wired to Hunt blog.
No, definitely. I posted that exact thing either last year or the fall before. So there is a blog post of what I had a year or two ago. So I'll post that link in the notes for this one if I remember, and then we should do an updated list for sure with your suggestions as well. I think that would be good. I've talked about this. I don't know where I talked about it, but I talked about this Rut and Rave playlist before, and I've had people request for me to send it over. I actually had somebody in our Wired to Hunt audience survey, somebody requested that I share my Spotify playlist. So
Nice.
there is interest. There is interest in this.
Okay. Now,
But what about you?
myself, I don't necessarily like to get fired up. Like, yeah, like I remember when all the hunting shows used to have like heavy metal.
Yeah.
It's like they're tiptoeing into the woods and all you hear is like, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And never really thought of hunting and heavy metal going together.
Agreed.
But I am a huge fan of the Black Keys, and the past 2 years, along with my John Lee Hooker Greatest Hits album, those two CDs are what I jam out to on my way to. And the specific Black Keys CD is Brothers, the album titled Brothers by the Black Keys. That's the one that I jam out to, and John Lee Hooker's Greatest Hits.
So what does that stuff? What does it do for you? Does that get you pumped, or does it just get you like in the flow and comfortable, or what does it do it for you? Focused. Okay.
And it's not like hey, I need to bench press 200 pounds type focused, or I'm gonna try to relax and go to sleep. It gives me just like that. I don't know, like when I think of blues, I think of like dirt roads and country and backwoods and just kind of like blues rock type of boom, 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 that kind of stuff. And for some reason, it just gets me like not fired up, but gets me focused,
Gets you ready.
and ready for the upcoming hunt.
Yeah, I think there really is something to this, because music can really impact your mindset and your attitude and your like focus level, and that's so important going into a hunt. I really do think that your mind is so important. Just being in the right place mentally before a hunt can make a big difference, especially during the rut. If you've hunted days on end and you're exhausted and tired after 5 full day sits or whatever, I mean, that is when it's just like it becomes such a mental game, and music really can help, I think.
Yep. All right, so we drive to the property, right? We get out of our truck, we walk to the tree stand, and oh man, I'm kind of hungry. What snacks did you pack for your hunting sit?
You're just trying to get me in trouble.
Well, I know you got haters from, oh man, you got diabetes or whatever those comments were about your.
Man, they came out of the woodwork and just like blasted me for unhealthy diet.
They shamed you.
They really they body shamed me, Dan.
Yep.
They body shamed me. They diet shamed me, and it hurt my feelings.
So let's talk about that, Mark. What is in your backpack?
So it depends on the time of year. If it's I really don't bring food with me at all except for the rut. So when during the rest of the season, it just might be a bottle of water. But during the rut, that's when I'm hunting. Long hours, usually the full day. So in those cases, I bring snacks because when you're on the tree for 12, 13 hours, you need something to help distract you and something to obviously keep you sustained out there. So I usually bring a variety of different things. But if I had to bring it, like on average, what I'd have, I've got a bottle of water. I've got some type of caffeine, so it might be a can of pop, it might be energy drink, like a 5-hour energy or something like that. But between those two, water for the full day, and then like a little burst of caffeine that I'll try to take around lunch. And then I'll bring usually 2 types of snack options and then a lunch. So lunch will probably usually be like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, some type of cracker or chip, and like a banana or an apple. And then snacks to eat usually around, like maybe 10 o'clock, between 9 and 10, I'll usually have a snack. And then I might have another snack between like 2 and 3 to kind of break up my day. So like I've got, I hunt for a couple hours, snack, couple hours, lunch, couple hours, snack, couple hours, end of the hunt. So that snack might be jerky or some mixed nuts, maybe some crackers or something like that, granola bar. Some combination of those types of things would typically be the snacks I would bring, and then maybe like a little piece of candy just as like to reward myself for still being there. So in general, that is what I've got on those hunts. Sometimes I brought Lunchables, which sounds like a weird thing for lunch, but I discovered this a couple of years ago. I don't know where I got the idea, but sometimes it's just tough to make a sandwich and pack a lunch and all that kind of stuff. So getting a kid's Lunchable has got some meat, some crackers, some cheese, some kind of little, dessert thing in there. Just from a convenience standpoint, it looks kind of ridiculous, sounds kind of ridiculous, but it made it just convenient to grab something and go, and you've got your lunch covered for those all-day sits. So I occasionally do that. But otherwise, I'd say that's my general rut-related diet for during the hunt.
Yeah. All right. So I don't typically bring any soda or pop into the timber. It's always just a bottle of water. However, I used to be like go to the gas station the night before and get like 5 apple pies and just eat apple pies all day. The little prepackaged apple pies. Now, these days, the last 2 seasons, I think I've felt like some kind of sugar rush crash where I get extra tired after after that sugar wears off. So now I've been bringing baby carrots and apples, and that's pretty much it.
Is that what you're eating for lunch, or you're saying you're usually eating lunch at the truck?
Whenever I'm in the tree stand, whether it's an all-day sit, which I don't typically do, or let's say like if I'm going in at noon and I know I have 6 hours ahead of me of sitting, or I know, hey, I'm going to try to sit from morning all the way till noon before I switch tree stands, or if I know there's going to be a wind shift and I bring food in with me, it's either these days it's just basically maybe a granola bar. This year I had some leftover backpacking bars from the elk trip, so I brought some of those in with me.
Yeah, since you bought like 72.
Yeah, I think 72 was the amount of pounds that I took in that those bars weigh.
That sounds about right.
But the baby carrots and apples, and that's the last 2 years, pretty much that's what I've, every once in a while, maybe I'll grab a granola bar, but I feel that eating a whole bunch of sugar and then crashing makes you more tired than what you already are.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think a generally decent diet out there does help. I've gotten better, despite what people thought when they saw that picture. Most of that was not being eaten on the stand all day. You have to have a little. For me, I like a little variety. I reward myself with the occasional junk food, but then I'll eat primarily healthier food out there, because it's a game. It's like it's a mental game, and for me, you gotta have like a little. It's like that the carrot versus the stick mentality. I want that carrot out in front of me of like something different 2 hours from now and something different 3 hours from then. Again, this is for like those all day sits, which are just particularly difficult. Having some variety is something that helps for me, but I do agree. keeping a generally healthy diet will help. I personally have to be honest, I cannot claim to eat healthy dinners during those rut trips because we're living in a hotel in the middle of nowhere, or, wherever it is with a bunch of us guys sharing a hotel room. So you can't cook something good. You can't, really do a good job of planning healthy meals. So we just end up eating junk food every night, kind of from wherever fast food place we can go. So that is our downfall probably. But you know what? Live a little.
Right. So I when I go on my rut vacations, I'm fortunate enough to stay with my parents because my hunting property is close to their house. So I just stay there and drive to the hunting property every morning. And so I either get home cooked meals every night, which is nice, or if for some reason my mom doesn't cook a meal, I'll throw in a pizza, like a frozen pizza, or maybe make a trip to Subway. But I binge eat at night. So I'm not typically too hungry in the mornings. So I'll get hungry somewhere around 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I don't eat breakfast.
Do you know what this is doing?
What's that, making you hungry?
Well, it's making me hungry, and it's also getting me excited for the rut. Just talking about the rut trip, I'm getting pumped.
I know. I'm pumped about turkey hunting, and I'm pumped about, I'm always pumped about deer hunting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm real pumped. I'm ready.
Are you pumped?
I'm pumped. I'm ready to get out there. I've been scouting maps already. I've been thinking.
Yep.
I've been looking. I'm ready to get out I'm going down to Ohio again here in like a month to turkey hunt and put up cameras for the summer and do some more work. And man, you know how it is. The cycle endlessly repeats over and over.
Okay. So we've already been at this about an hour. All right. A little over an hour. So we're going to end on the last question this is the last question. Okay.
Okay.
But before we get into that last question, I have another question for you. How do you think I'm doing as a host so far?
You've done well, Dan.
I've done well. Okay, good.
Other than getting a really crappy guest, me.
Yeah. Worst guest ever.
Other than this being the worst guest ever, you've done a good job. I've enjoyed it. It's been fun for me.
And in about 10 minutes of talking about poop.
That's been the highlight probably for most people.
Okay. Okay.
So other than that, what's the last question?
The last question, and this is something that our listeners get every day from this podcast. You get the emails, I get the emails, and they're kind of like, hey man, I love this podcast. I love it. I've used these tactics to, move in on a deer, or next year I know where I need to be, or, hey, I helped, your guests and all the information that they've brought has gotten me information that I need to make a move on a deer. And, they send you pictures like, here's this buck I killed this year.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love hearing about our listeners' success.
That is probably my favorite part of this whole deal is talking with the listeners. But now we're going to talk about Mark Kenyon. What is your favorite tactic? Now that's a very general question, or a very broad, vague question, right?
Very, very.
What is your favorite hunting deer, whitetail with a bow hunting tactic?
So, I mean, do you mean like a trick, or like an overarching philosophy, or like one basic concept that I adhere to, or something like that?
Okay, I'll repeat myself. What is your favorite whitetail with a bow hunting tactic?
So you're not going to give me anymore. Okay.
Do you want me to go first?
No, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Okay.
I'll take it. I'll just answer it how I want to answer it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
It's open for interpretation.
It's open. So if I had to think through all of the different things that I've learned over my own years of hunting and my own years of studying other resources, and now learning from all these dozens and dozens and dozens of different people I've been able to talk to through Wired to Hunt and the podcast, if I take all those things and if I had to drill down to like the core concepts of what's the very most important thing for me when it comes to being a successful bow hunter, I think most of what I do if I were to drill down to the essentials of it, comes down to the importance of timing. Everything for me revolves around timing, and that is by default related to pressure, right? I think everything when it comes to hunting mature bucks comes to how can you reduce hunting pressure? How can you make these deer feel comfortable and not become educated about your presence, and then still be able to get in and hunt that deer, put yourself in a position to kill that deer within, 30 yards or whatever, without them realizing they're being hunted. So how do you do that? And I think the most important thing you can do in order to achieve that is to pay attention to your timing. By that I mean when you hunt certain areas, how you approach your season based on time of year, conditions, all that. So at a super high level, I'm thinking through, for example, I'm not hunting certain areas at certain times. I'm not hunting at all with certain conditions. I'm planning on hunting specific stands or specific areas because of a time of year or because of a specific set of factors or intel that I've gained. But all these things relate to timing, being really thoughtful and purposeful about choosing when you hunt, why you hunt on that given date or during that given time, and when you go into a certain area. So at a high level, that would be the most like overarching philosophical view I have about deer hunting is everything relates to timing. I think most of what I do revolves around that concept in some way. Because in the past, I thought you just hunt as much as you possibly could. Every chance I have, I'm going to hunt, and I'm going to always go to the best place I think I can go. And I've come to find that quality over quantity is a lot more important. So to get those quality sits, it comes down to picking the right times to strike, or at least picking the right times to be in the right place. So that is my answer.
That's a good answer.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Did I answer correctly?
Sure.
Well, how about you? Do you have a favorite tactic?
Now I'm going to be specific in mine. My favorite tactic is because the majority of my hunting, other than the early season where I can hunt the weekends. So if I'm going to approach my rut vacation, all right, I am going to find a bedding area on a ridge, and I am going to sit on the downwind side of that, either that specific bedding area or a travel corridor off that ridge to or from a bedding area. And I walk with my back to, well, it just depends on how I'm accessing that particular stand, but a majority of my access routes have the wind blowing against my back, already in the timber. It's blowing into the timber, right? So if there is for some reason something there, it's going to bust me. But it's kind of a risky move. And that once you get to your stand, that wind is blowing off the top of the ridge down into the valley. And I have seen more deer in that scenario than any other scenario or tree stand placement that I have. So that is my favorite, because that is where I have the encounters with my biggest bucks, and as far as quantity of deer, the most deer I see.
So during the rut, downwind of a doe bedding area
or travel corridor going into or out
area.
Of a bedding area, correct.
And typically this is on a ridge.
On a ridge, yep.
And you are going in the morning
hunt
with the wind blowing into the timber, off the ridge into the valley.
That's correct.
All right. That sounds like a pretty decent setup.
So that's my favorite tactic.
Good answer, my friend.
Okay.
Good answer.
Well, my friend, I guess I'll hand the reins back over to you. What do you think? On a scale of 9 to 10, how did I do?
9 to 10 is my only options.
Right. So that way, if you say 9, I can say, hey, I did it pretty good. I got a 9.
I give you the lowest possible rating available. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. I'll take
You got a 10, Dan. You did great. You did great.
Perfect.
I enjoyed it. This was fun. It was different, and I laughed a lot. So high marks for laughter.
Good.
All right.
And hopefully the listeners found this fun as well.
I don't think anyone heard it, Dan. I think everyone turned off after 10 minutes. So
Right.
I think this was for you and me.
This is playing in the background while someone's doing the dishes or, working on a car
We're
motor.
going number 2. So I'm going to take it back from you really, really briefly here. Thank you, Dan, for running this one. This was fun. And we didn't even say at the beginning that if someone's new to the show, why this happened.
Right.
This happened because you won the trail camera bet last summer. And so the winner of that got to host the show. Well, if it was you got to host the show. So that's why we did this. And it was fun. So I might make you do it again in the future. Watch out.
Hey, I say we have the same bet again.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay. We'll talk about that more towards summertime.
Yeah. We'll talk about more in the summer, which I'm pumped for some big velvet bucks on trail camera. So with that said, before we do shut down the show though, just quickly, we need to give a big thank you to our partners who help keep this podcast on the air. So big thank you to Sitka Gear, Trophy Ridge, Bear Archery, Redneck Blinds, Huntera Maps, Ozonics, Carbon Express, Lacrosse Boots, and the Whitetail Institute of North America. And finally, and most importantly, thank you everyone for joining us today, for listening, for laughing along with us. We hope you had as much fun as we did. And until next time, Dan, do you want to take it from here?
Yeah. And I wrote a comment down real quick.
Oh, yeah?
Hopefully this podcast was like a warm hug to your ears. And this is a reminder from Dan Johnson and Mark Kenyon to stay wired to hunt.
Bravo. Well done.
I'm sure a lot of you guys remember the old ceremonial hunting tradition of eating the heart out of the first animal you kill. Meat from those organs are among the most nutrient-rich foods on the planet. You can get those same benefits your ancestors craved via convenient daily capsules from Heart and Soil. Find out more at heartandsoil.co. And remember, use code MeatEater for 10% off your purchase.
Outdoor adventure won't wait for engine problems. Things like hard starts, rough performance, and lost fuel economy are often caused by fuel gum and varnish buildup. Seafoam can help your engine run better and last longer. You simply pour a can into your gas tank. Hunters and anglers rely on Seafoam to keep their engines running the way it should the entire season. So pick up a can of Seafoam today at your local auto parts store or visit seafoamworks.com to learn more.